Have you ever heard an idea that sounded so ridiculous that your brain immediately went, no, that's a cult, that's a pyramid scheme, that's woo. And then somehow you tried it and it worked. What I'm going to share with you today is going to sound crazy, and in full transparency, it is crazy. But it is also quietly being used by some of my coaching clients, many of whom they happen to run billion-dollar brands. Because when the stakes are that high, they don't have time to calm down. Eventually, they need a way to get their brains back online fast. And today, I'm going to share with you the simplest tool that I have discovered for interrupting emotional hijacking, but on command. Because here's the truth. More than 70% of people have reported living in heightened chronic states of stress and anxiety all the time about the current state of global affairs. Meaning that more than 3/4 of you hearing these words are living every single day in heightened states of chronic stress and anxiety. And stress and anxiety, this isn't static, it's a loop. The stress grows the anxiety, and the anxiety feeds the stress right back, making it a reinforcing cycle. I want you to think the boiling pot on the stove with the lid on. Everything looks fine, right up until it isn't. The best example of this would be the infamous Oscars slap, watched by the world. In a single moment, someone loses control. We saw this recently in Michigan. A college football coach not only ended a prestigious coaching career, a $10 million salary, he ended up facing criminal charges. And we see this in business all the time. We've all heard the examples of the CEOs of Uber, Papa John's, and CrossFit, all three of whom needing to step down very publicly from their very own companies they founded because of single moments of unchecked emotion. All of which could have been prevented with the right tools in under 60 seconds. I grew up with an older brother, 3 years older. Man, and he and I were the best of friends. I adored him for the simple reason he adored me. Growing up with him, I could literally do no wrong in his eyes. One morning, my mom walks in with 2 glasses of beet and celery juice. And now, if you've ever tasted that as a child, that tastes like somebody blended dirt with optimism and a punishment. My mom walks in again and again, drink the juice. And this moment right here is where my leadership journey began. I sprung into action. I smeared the juice on both our mouths, poured the entire contents out the window. My mom walks back in, sees the stains, picks up the empty glasses, says, nothing. My brother turns to me, looking at me like I am a criminal mastermind, and says, you so should have been born first. That is who we were. Team. Fast forward, we're grown, but we're still close. So logically, we go into business together, and we build a startup company to multiple 7 figures fast. From the outside looking in, success. But from the inside, it felt like we were 2 rival CEOs fighting over the same company. Our relationship changed. It had shifted. We fought about everything, constantly, all the time. I remember this moment so clearly. We were sitting in our conference room having a normal business discussion, and my brother makes just one snide comment aimed in my general direction. And something in me snapped. You know the feeling where you are physically present and in the room, but mentally, emotionally, you have checked out, and you are revisiting every single unresolved emotion that you have ever had. That is emotional hijacking. And before I even realized what had happened, I jumped up and out of my seat, and at the top of my voice, I was threatening to take him outside, which in and of itself is hilarious, because if you look at me, do I look like the kind of guy who takes people outside? But in that moment, that wasn't me. I was raw emotion showing up in a business. But here's what I didn't understand back then. When your body is emotionally flooded, anger, overwhelm, resentment, frustration, your brain literally goes into survival mode. And in survival mode, you can still attend meetings, you can still respond to emails, you can still quote unquote function, but you've literally lost the very best parts of how your brain thinks. Reason, gone. Inspiration, flatlines. Logic, out the window. Creativity, what creativity? But here's the real problem. You see, because when you're in a heightened state of chronic stress, and if you lead people, you don't just lose your best thinking, you have accidentally entrained every single person in your company to do the same. Because stress is contagious. I hit a breaking point, 4 a.m. I was lying in bed staring at the ceiling fan. I know you know the feeling. And I remember thinking, something has got to change because I'm about to lose everything that matters to me. So I got up and out of bed and I sat on the couch and I did the one thing that didn't require motivation, money, or a personal brand. I breathed. Slow, controlled, in and out, in and out. And after about 20 minutes, I actually felt relief. I wasn't enlightened or anything, but I was most certainly no longer a threat to society. And when I got to work later that morning, I'd already worked myself back up and I had to do it again in my car one more time before going into the workday. And over time, when my team couldn't find me in my 15,000 square foot office, the first place they began to check was not inside, it was in my car, because that's where I would be, pausing and breathing. And at first, they made fun until everything changed. Not overnight, consistently. My decision-making sharpened. I became less reactive. My business grew exponentially. My relationship with my brother softened and we came together again. And I realized in that moment that I had accidentally stumbled upon a skill set that should be taught in school and in every single company's first day orientation meeting. How to disrupt emotional hijacking on command. Because stress isn't this personal experience. Stress is expensive. Stress costs companies an estimated $1 trillion annually due to lost workplace productivity. Coaching client calls me a few years ago in a full emotional spiral. I wasn't expecting their call, so I already knew something was up. But when I picked up that phone and I heard them, the pressure, the tunnel vision, the overwhelm, I knew in that moment they were about to blow up their career that had taken them decades to build, and they were going to do it in a matter of minutes. And so I asked them the one question no one is expecting in the middle of an emotional meltdown. Do you know what the Michelin Man looks like? What? You know, the Michelin Man. Describe him to me. I don't know, big, white, black, layered tire guy, puffy. Exactly. You see, here's what's happening. Right now, you have a big, puffy, invisible suit of emotion surrounding you. It is an anger suit, it's an overwhelmed suit, it's a frustration suit, and you're inside that suit. The problem isn't that you have the suit, the problem is you've started identifying as the suit. And so I asked my client to trust me. I said, I need you to unzip from the suit of emotion. You heard me correctly. I asked a grown adult to stand up at their desk in their office and to pretend to unzip an imaginary costume of emotion. And they did. I said, stand, pause, take in a deep breath, unzip, open it up, step out, take 3 steps away, and turn around and look back at where you were standing. My client stands, pauses, breathes, steps out, steps away, turns, and then I lean into the call and said, now, Why don't you tell me? What had you so upset a moment ago? And here's what happened next. My client's voice changed. Their breathing slowed. Their story got smaller and they began to see options again. See, because what had happened is they stopped identifying with the emotion and became the observer of their emotion. They went from being a passenger within their experience to once again being the driver of their experience. They got the prefrontal cortex back online, the part of the brain responsible for reason, regulation, and choice. Because you see, here's the real truth. You cannot solve a problem with the same emotional state that created the problem in the first place. And yet we somehow expect this of ourselves, and even worse, our teams every single day. We get stressed and demand excellence. We get overwhelmed and want clarity. We get angry and somehow still try and effectively communicate. Come on. That's like trying to do your taxes while being chased by a bear. Sure, you could do it, but the results are going to be expensive. So here's my challenge for you starting today. The next time you catch yourself being emotionally hijacked at work, at home, in a text thread, stop and do the energy suit exercise. I used to think that I had an anger problem, when in reality I had a regulation issue. And not until I realized that I am not my emotion, I'm just the person wearing them, did I get my leadership back and my life back. Stop. Pause. Name the emotion. Anger suit, overwhelm suit, resentment suit, and then ask the question, what was I making that story mean? Stress, anxiety, pressure, and overwhelm are a normal part of everyday life, but they do not have to be expensive. You can break the cycle in under 60 seconds. Stop, pause, separate, find your still point, and lead from who you really are. Thank you.